Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Connecticut Soccer Stadium and the championship game of the 1986 Big East Conference Soccer Tournament between the number 2 seeded Orangemen of Syracuse University and the number 1 seeded Seton Hall University Pirates. Now introducing the Syracuse reserves. Goalie Pete Brummel. Number 3, William Montes de Oca. Number 6, Ralph Pascarella. Number 9, Sean Lilly. Number 10, Scott Morrell. Number 12, Nicky Dimitrievski. Number 14, Scott Ames. Number 16, Bill Durant. And number 23, Kyle Whitson. And now the starters for the Syracuse Orangemen. In goal, a sophomore from Orleans, Massachusetts, Chris Whitcomb. A back, senior, from Youngstown, New York, number 4, Christer Johansson. Forward, a freshman, from Evanston, Illinois, number 7, Steve Morris. At midfield, a junior, from Guilford, Connecticut, number 8, Scott Oceani. At forward, a senior from Ludlow, Massachusetts, number 11, Greg Kaloji. At midfield, a senior from Garden City, New York, number 13, Ron Dorno. At back, a junior from Columbia, Maryland, number 15, Chris Wildminster. At forward, a junior from Downsview, Ontario, number 17, Mark Demont. At back, a sophomore from Verona, New Jersey, number 18, Fred Paulson. At back, a junior from North York, Ontario, number 20, Steve Schaefer. And at midfield, a sophomore from Guilford, Connecticut, number 21, Charlie Mullen. Head coach of the Orangemen in his second season at Syracuse, Mr. Tim Hankinson. He is assisted by Mr. Godwin Elmo. And now introducing the Seton Hall non-starters. Number 0, Nick Berardinelli. Number 00, Peter Gasparo. Number 3, Mike Mount. Number 7, Chris Neal. Number 13, Charlie Kenny. Number 15, Paul Teha. Number 16, Lou Palazzo. And number 19, Pat O'Brien. And now the starters for the Seton Hall Pirates. In goal, a senior from Elizabeth, New Jersey, number 1, Terry Higgins. At back, a freshman from Jamesburg, New Jersey, number 4, Joe Alfano. At midfield, a sophomore from Westfield, New Jersey, number 5, Ed Haig. At back, a freshman from Dublin, Ireland, number 6, Brian Hammond. At midfield, a freshman from Elizabeth, New Jersey, number 8, John Murphy. At forward, a freshman from Dublin, Ireland, number 9, Pat Hughes. At forward, a freshman from Cork, Ireland, number 10, Ian Hennessy. At midfield, a freshman from Dublin, Ireland, number 11, Pat O'Kelly. At back, a freshman from Union, New Jersey, number 12, George Nazario. At forward, a sophomore from Ridgefield, New Jersey, number 14, Peter Letishak. And at midfield, a freshman from Atoka, New Jersey, number 17, Greg Messengill. Head coach of the Pirates in his second season at Seton Hall, Mr. Ed Kelly. He is assisted by Mr. Peter Gill. Your officials for this afternoon's match, the referee, Mr. Mike Saunders, and the linesman, Mr. Joseph Morda and Mr. Paul Schulman. Ladies and gentlemen, would you please rise for the playing of our national anthem.
Let's meet up close now. The starting lineups for the two teams. For the Syracuse University Orangemen, their forwards, number 15, Chris Wildminster, number 7, the freshman Steve Morris, and number 11, Greg Kalogi. Midfielders, number 8, Scott Oceani, number 21, Charlie Mullen, and number 17, Mark Damani. In the backfield, number 20, Steve Schaefer, number 13, Ron Dornow, number 4, Krister Johansson, and number 18, Fred Paulson, with the sophomore Chris Whitcomb in the net, trying to tie the school record for shutouts in one season. He has 11. The school record is 12. For Seton Hall, Pat Hughes, number 9, and Peter Matishak, number 14, are the forwards. Midfielders, number 8, John Murphy, number 10, Ian Hennessy, number 11, Pat O'Kelly, and number 17, Greg Massengill. In the backfield, number 12, George Nazario, number 4, Joe Alfano, number 5, Ed Haig, and number 6, Brian Hammond. The goalie is the senior, Terry Higgins. He has 6 shutouts on the season, a record of 14, 1-2, and a goals against of 1.05. Seton Hall dressed in the blue and white stripes, Syracuse in the orange and blue. Referee Michael Sanders, the linesman Joseph Morda, and Paul Schulman. It'll be Seton Hall to put the ball in play, and the grounds crew has just done a super job, Scott, getting the field prepared. We know what it was like yesterday for the semifinals. It's still a little soft, but a lot better, and really a miracle that they've gotten the field in this great condition.
Well, they started working on it late yesterday afternoon as soon as the rain let up, and they started working on it again at 7 o'clock this morning, and they just finished working on rolling the areas, re-rolling the areas in front of the goals just about 10 minutes ago.
It's Seton Hall in possession of the ball. Pat Hughes, number 9, had it kicked away by Syracuse's Steve Schaefer, number 20, and the Pirates will throw it in. Pat O'Kelly had a pair of assists in the win In the semifinals for Seton Hall over Boston College, the 8-2 thrashing, the Pirates' 17th victory of the season. Their first time ever in the Big East Conference Championship game. Pat O'Kelly, number 11, along the line with Mark DeMonte, number 17 of Syracuse. DeMonte, the junior, took it away, then got tripped, and Syracuse will put it in play from the corner. Syracuse, the defending Big East Conference champions, had a thrilling 1-0 victory in the semifinal round over the University of Connecticut. Only Syracuse and Connecticut have won the Big East Conference titles. This is the 5th. Syracuse has won 2 of the previous 4. Connecticut won the other 2. Seton Hall is looking to end that string this afternoon. Hughes left it, and it's Seton Hall's number 17, Greg Massengill. He gets it back to Pat Hughes, left-footed shot right on, and Chris Whitcomb makes the stop. Whitcomb recorded his 11th shutout of the season yesterday in the semifinals against Connecticut. Along the line, Scott Oceani couldn't save it for Syracuse. The Pirates throw it back in quickly. Oceani got in the way. Back comes Seton Hall. Ian Hennessy scored 4 goals yesterday against Boston College. Had it kicked away and out of play by Charlie Mullen of Syracuse. We've played 2 minutes, no score. The number 1 seeded team, Seton Hall, ranked 9th in the nation, taking on Syracuse. And immediately, the referee, Michael Sanders, steps in and has words with Ron Dornow, who dumped one of the Pirates.
Just a minor point on the very first clearing opportunity by Chris Whitcomb. He got a very good clearing pass out of the goal as he planted himself on his right foot to throw the ball, and he had no trouble at all with the footing. He seemed to get a very good plant. So right now, it doesn't seem to be too bad. How much it will, or how well it will hold up throughout the game, that remains to be seen. Of course, that goal really did not have the worst of the water yesterday. It was at the other end of the field.
Off the restart, it was blocked by Greg Kaloji of Syracuse. Now an attempted shot goes over the net. Shot came off the foot of John Murphy, number 8, and Chris Whitcomb, the sophomore from Orleans, has the goal kick. He'll leave it, and Christer Johansson, number 4, will put it back in play for the Orangemen. Line drive headed forward by Mark DeMonte to Scott Oceani, number 8. He laid it off. The Pirates take it back. O'Kelly got it ahead to Massengill. Back to O'Kelly, taken away by Oceani. Battle for the ball. The Pirates have it. Pat O'Kelly sends it out wide to Ian Hennessy, number 10. He's a freshman from Cork, Ireland. Has to be right now the leading candidate for MVP honors in the Big East Conference Tournament after his 4-goal performance against Boston College yesterday. Chris Wildminster kicked it over the line for Tim Hankinson, Syracuse University Orangeman. This is his 2nd year as coach of the Orange, and he's looking for his 2nd Big East title. In his first year a year ago, he led Syracuse to the Big East Conference Championship. We've played nearly 4 minutes, no score. Seton Hall taking on Syracuse.
Already, we've been able to pick out early in the game the additional widths to the attacks of both teams as they've been able to stretch things out a little bit. The footing at midfield is not going to be that great, but at least you don't have the standing water. They can spread out their attacks a little bit, go touchline to touchline as Ed Kelly looks on for Seton Hall. They can take it touchline to touchline and at least pass across the field, even if they don't have great footing right around the midfield area.
Syracuse, with the win yesterday over Connecticut, tied the school record for most wins in a season at 16. George Nazario, number 12, plays it back to Higgins in the goal. The 1982 Syracuse team also won 16 games and won the Big East Conference Tournament. That team, however, did not get an NCAA tournament bid. It was not an automatic bid back in 1982. Steve Morris fed Mark DeMonte. He couldn't handle the pass. It rolls over the line, and the Pirates will throw it in. Joe Alfano to throw it in. Throws it into midfield, headed forward by Peter Matashak. Hughes battles for the ball with Schaefer. Schaefer of Syracuse called for a hold. Connecticut coach Joe Maroney, one of the interested spectators. He's not used to watching the Big East Championship game.
He's not used to sitting in the stands here at the Connecticut Soccer Stadium and watching, that's for sure. Be interesting to see if he can keep himself from becoming overly animated today.
Play on at midfield. We've played 5.5 minutes, no score. It's the Big East Conference Soccer Championship game between Syracuse and Seton Hall. We mentioned Seton Hall ranked 9th in the nation. The Orangemen not ranked in the top 20 nationally. They're 3rd in New York State behind LIU and Hartwick. Centering ball taken back by Christopher Johansson of Syracuse. His pass to Wildminster was kicked over the line, and the Pirates throw it back in. Nazario threw it into Massengill. He was bumped by Oceani. Foul was called. Pirates will put it in play. Pat O'Kelly.
Left, Marco.
Pirates have the breeze at their back here in the first half, and from time to time it is a fairly substantial gusting breeze. O'Kelly puts it out in front. Schaefer got a leg on it. It went up and over, and it'll be a corner kick for the Seton Hall Pirates.
Come on, Marco.
First corner kick of the afternoon for Seton Hall.
I can take that to the
O'Kelly to put it in play. Pat O'Kelly, freshman from Dublin, Ireland, waiting for his team to get lined up. Now puts it in play. Line drive, headed high in the air. Whitcomb comes out, punches at it, and missed. And it's headed over the net. Paulson tried to clear it away. It was blocked and went up and over. Anxious moments for Chris Whitcomb.
Chris Whitcomb really getting away with one there. Now here's the danger of punching at the ball. As you can see, if you don't hit the ball square, it came right off the backs of his fists and almost went into the goal. Luckily cleared away off of a Pirate and over the net.
He struck the thigh of the Seton Hall player, and as you said, very fortunately for Syracuse, deflected over. Matashak tried to cross it out in front. It went behind the net. It's another goal kick. This copyrighted program is brought to you under pay cable TV rights granted by the Big East Conference solely for the entertainment of our viewing audience. Any publication, rebroadcast, retransmission, or other use of the accounts and descriptions of this game without the written consent of the New England Sports Network and the Big East is prohibited. They're going to rule this a corner kick, and Pat O'Kelly is going to get another shot at it, this time from the far corner.
Yesterday we got a look at how O'Kelly can set it up on the fly from the outside.
He's got some big targets in the area, and Matashak, who goes at 6'4", Hennessy at 6'2". Seton Hall has controlled the play territorially here, but they've not been able to get one past Chris Whitcomb. We're down to 36 minutes to play in the first half. No score. Christopher Johansson to throw it in. Throws it out to midfield. Oceani got a foot on it. Ball bounces out, and it belongs to the Pirates. Seton Hall's had 3 shots. Syracuse is yet to have a shot. Oceani takes it down. Ron Dornow, number 13. At midfield, Charlie Mullen had trouble with it. Wildminster picks it up, sends it out on the wing too far ahead of Oceani. And the Pirates throw it back in. Ed Haig throws it out to midfield. Dornow kicked it back. Down to 35.5 minutes to play in the first half. Oceani threw it in. Haig headed it back. Oceani takes it back for Syracuse. Tried to get it through to Kaloji. It was deflected en route and trickles into Terry Higgins, the senior, in the goal from Elizabeth, New Jersey. Transfer after 3 seasons at Fairleigh Dickinson, where he was a 3-year starter. Out at midfield, Matashak got it to Massengill. Back in the direction of Peter Matashak, the sophomore from Ridgefield, New Jersey. Second leading scorer in the nation. Puts it out in front. It's a goal. Ian Hennessy. His 5th goal in 2 games in the Big East Soccer Championships, and the Pirates of Seton Hall lead 1-0.
Well, that goal started way back with the goalkeeper at the other end of the field. Terry Higgins setting things up as we've been seeing a very wide, deep setup. Here you see it. Matashak feeding it across. This is classic. Hennessy wide open on the far side of the goal. Matashak going for the far post, and that's exactly what happened. Here's where it started. A lot of width and depth to the setup for Seton Hall as they are really keeping Syracuse from getting into their own area and setting up a quick counter. And it was off that quick counter that Matashak broke loose, goes far post, and there's the man coming into the screen now, Hennessy, just setting up far post for the rebound shot.
Goal number 13 of the season for Ian Hennessy. His 5th of the tournament from Hughes and Matashak at 10-10. Seton Hall leads 1-0. The freshman from Cork, Ireland, Ian Hennessy, having quite a tournament.
Boy, there's where it all started, right there with Terry Higgins. The ball cleared back to him off of a very wide, deep defensive setup that has kept Syracuse from getting in on Hennessy or on Higgins at all today. He got a good boot out to midfield, and that width and depth of the setup had people well spaced downfield, so they were able to one-touch it all the way down. Usually you reserve that one touch for the area, but they one-touched it all the way down. Matashak picking it up in the area and putting it across to Hennessy. Another quick look at Matashak as he just breaks into the area, and there's his one touch across to the far post. Here comes Ian Hennessy, completely unmarked, and that's a goal.
We're down to 33:40 to play in the first half. Foul called against Syracuse. Hennessy will put it in play. Now Massengill leaves it. Massengill is a freshman wearing number 17.
Pressure!
Sends it out to O'Kelly. Into the corner it goes. Hughes and Schaefer battled for it. It went out off Hughes, and it'll be a goal kick for Chris Whitcomb. Mr. Johansson will put it in play. He's a senior, Youngstown, New York, one of the co-captains, along with Jim Durant, the All-American candidate, who is not playing for Syracuse with a broken ankle. They didn't miss him yesterday, but there are a lot of talented strikers on this Seton Hall team, and I think they would like to have him back there today to mark up Matashak or Hennessy or one of those fellas.
Well, the only concern I would have about Seton Hall is the one that I mentioned yesterday, that these are young players who aren't used to pacing themselves through a full season, and here we are at the end of the season having to play on back-to-back days, and we'll just have to wait and see as the game goes on, it starts to take a toll on them.
Hennessy played it through Hughes. He popped it up in the air and has it back, and will send it back to Terry Higgins.
You can see how the ball is rolling into that area today. Rolling pass like that wouldn't have even gotten across the area line yesterday. But that's still pretty soft in front, and it might turn into a puddle again today, depending on how much play we get in front of Terry Higgins in this first half and Chris Whitcomb in the second half.
There is still a threat of rain this afternoon here in Storrs, Connecticut. Right now it is overcast, but quite warm. Temperature up in the 60s. And we mentioned the breeze blowing at the back of the Pirates. It has died down somewhat as we played through the first 15 minutes of the half. Seton Hall leading 1-0. The goal by Ian Hennessy, the star of the tournament to date, his 5th goal in 2 games. Goal kick upcoming for Chris Whitcomb. Matashak tried to buy the call and get a corner kick, but the referee, Michael Sanders, was not going for it. Johansson sends it out to the right. Ron Dornow ahead to Steve Morris. Now Dornow again ahead to Oceani. Massengill kicked it away from him and over the line. And it's a throw-in for Syracuse. Scott Oceani out of Guilford, Connecticut. Has a lot of friends and relatives in the stands here this afternoon. Morris, the freshman from Evanston, Illinois, wearing number 7. First-team high school All-American. Parade magazine. A year ago, he lost the ball. The Pirates kicked it out. Johansson will throw it back in. for Ron Dornow, the senior. Tried to feed Kaloji and missed him. DeMonte coming up to pressure, but moving away from the traffic is O'Kelly. Up to midfield to Pat Hughes. Hughes ran into Schaefer. Schaefer called for a hold. He doesn't like it and kicks the ball well over midfield.
Well, here's a look at the hole as O'Kelly moves up the field. Boy, I don't know. You know, that might have gone the other way, if you ask me, Sean.
Yep. Steve Schaefer thought so. 29 minutes, 40 seconds to play in the first half. It's the Big East Conference Soccer Championship game between Syracuse and Seton Hall. The Pirates of Seton Hall, the top-seeded team in the tournament, leading 1-0. This is Steve Morris.
Where'd it go? Get up, you guys! Far side, Eddie Haig!
Plays it through to Mark DeMonte, Jr. from Downsville, Ontario. Put it through to Wildminster, back to DeMonte. Pass was broken up. Mullen takes it back for Syracuse. Got it to Wildminster. He got taken down. O'Kelly. Nice chip forward to Ian Hennessy. Hennessy had only 8 goals in the regular season. He scored 5 in 1+ games here in the Big East Conference Championships. Johansson took the ball away from him. DeMonte had it headed away by O'Kelly. Mullen moving forward with it. The sophomore for Syracuse. Got stopped by Alfano. Now Ed Haig played it away from Oceani. That ball bounces over the line. Syracuse will throw it in. Dornow threw it in. Haig got a leg on it. Oceani, he scored the only goal in the win over Connecticut yesterday. Got dumped. Back comes Seton Hall's Greg Massengill. Long ball along the line. Nobody there in a striped shirt. Johansson will be the first man there, and he'll let it go and throw it in. Schaefer ahead to Charlie Mullen. Back to Steve Schaefer, the junior from North York, Ontario. Sends it to his fellow Canadian, Mark DeMonte. Morris. And it's Charlie Mullen. Now Wildminster tangled up with Alfano, pulled away, tried to get a shot off. It was blocked. Ball bouncing free, headed back by DeMonte. Play is called for offside.
And quickly, that area in front of the goalkeeper's area is beginning to deteriorate. That ball was slowed down again by hitting a wet spot in front of the area. That's going to become a major factor in this afternoon's game as it continues to deteriorate, as it was yesterday afternoon. Boy, coming downfield, as we watched Syracuse come downfield that time, we had a good wide shot on the screen, and you could see what I meant by the width of that Seton Hall defense, that as soon as the Orange men broke into the defensive third, there were 5 men right across the area line.
Matashak laid it off to Massengill. He plays it back to O'Kelly, Alfano, and now Nazario. His pass blocked by DeMonte. Looks for Kaloji along the wing. Kaloji trying to go around Nazario. Keeps the ball along the line. Back to DeMonte. Has Wildminster at the top of the area. Gives it off to Morris instead. Haig was there, and the Pirates take it back. Seton Hall leading 1-0. 26:40 to play in the first half. Schaefer ran into Hughes. Bouncing ball along the line. It'll be thrown in by Syracuse. Nesson's coverage of Hockey East 86 continues this Friday as the Maine Black Bears travel to Durham to take on the University of New Hampshire Wildcats live at 7:30. Make sure to check your Nesson listings for other broadcast times. That's Maine and UNH in Hockey East action this Friday at 7:30 right here on Nesson. Sean McDonough with Scott Gray, our producer-director John Vasallo, our associate director Liz White. It's the Big East Conference Championships on Nesson. Seton Hall leading Syracuse 1-0. The Pirates trying to earn a school record 18th win of the season. They've already set the school record with 17 wins. A loss and a tie. Wildminster put it into the area. DeMonte slipped and fell. Mullen moving in. It was blocked. Mullen got it to Kaloji. He plays it back to Johansson. He'll try a blast, and it goes over the net.
Well, you're always trying to put that ball back into the area, but if you've got nobody cutting in, the smart thing to do is to feed it back. That time, Kaloji making the good play, finding a man set up for the long shot. He had nobody breaking in, everybody coming away from the goal line at that point. Here you take another look at the play as it's set up, and you can see how the defense of Seton Hall is setting up almost like a picket line.
We're down to 25 minutes to play in the half. Crowd groans as Syracuse is called for the foul. There's Steve Morris. Outstanding freshman, one of the most highly recruited players out of high school in the country last year. Syracuse won the recruiting battle. Connecticut was in the hunt. Indiana. Another foul called against Syracuse. Free kick for the Pirates. Ian Hennessy, the only goal that came at 10-10 from Hughes and Matishak. Matishak, the Big East's leading scorer. The South Division Player of the Year. Jim Garant of Syracuse was the North Division Player of the Year. And he's not in the lineup today for Syracuse. He's out with a broken ankle.
And you mentioned, Sean, that his absence would probably be a bit more noticeable today, and I think already it was on the play to Hennessy. So wide open in the area that time, nobody marking him.
We should also mention that a couple of the freshmen of the year in the Big East are in this match. Pat Hughes of Seton Hall, the South Division Freshman of the Year. Steve Morris of Syracuse and Steve Rammel of Connecticut shared the North Division Freshman of the Year honors. And the Coach of the Year also in this game, Tim Hankinson of Syracuse, was voted the Big East Coach of the Year for 1986. Right now is Orangemen trail 1-0. They have the goal kick, and Christer Johansson puts it in play. He's gone out to the right to Dornow virtually every time. That one sailed over Dornow's head. Seton Hall University. They have some fans here today. Matishak's shot goes wide, and it'll be a corner kick. It was deflected out off a member of the Orangemen. Third corner kick of the afternoon for Seton Hall.
Do that, Marco. Come on, Marco. Deep a little. Get there.
Line drive blocked by Damani. He blasted that over everything. That's out near one of the porta-toities.
I think that's out in the parking lot in the field in back of us. Might be in somebody's trunk right now.
Off the throw-in, the pass too far ahead of Pat O'Kelly, and it's a goal kick for Syracuse. They've got the right idea.
Well, this is more picnic weather today than yesterday was.
Yesterday was no picnic, that's for sure.
I saw some of the UConn players filtering in a little while ago, wearing their shorts, taking an afternoon of
It's almost
soccer.
70 degrees here this afternoon. Just hope the rain holds long enough, because certainly the field can't afford much more wet weather. We're down to 22 minutes to play in the first half of the Big East Conference Championship game for 1986, the 5th annual Big East Conference Championship. An automatic bid to the NCAA tournament awaits the winner. I think Syracuse needs it more than Seton Hall. Syracuse is on the fence. I think Seton Hall's in.
Well, you're just reading my mind and yanking the words right out of my mouth.
Yep. I don't think that a loss would be completely devastating to Syracuse and eliminate them. I still think they'd have a good shot at it.
I think yesterday's win really enhanced their chances.
Johansson drove it back in. Play called offside. Steve Morris was the offending player. Terry Higgins. 27 career shutouts for the Seton Hall netminder. As we mentioned, most of those came at Fairleigh Dickinson. He is 6th this year at Seton Hall. Had 21 in 3 years at Fairleigh Dickinson. For the Pirates, it's sent over midfield by Brian Hammond. Played down off the chest of Johansson. Headed back by Seton Hall. Mark Damani takes it in. To Oceani. Tried to feed it through to Wildminster. The junior from Columbia, Maryland, was wrapped up. Hennessy ahead to O'Kelly. trying to go to Matashak. Paulson got in the way and then lost it. Johansson has to cover as Matashak looked to break in. Now Ron Dornow. Tangled up with O'Kelly, taken away by O'Kelly to Matashak, the Big East leading scorer in the regular season with 48 points. It was blocked out off a Syracuse player, and the Pirates will throw it in. Joe Alfano running up to throw it in. A couple of the Connecticut Huskies watching in the stands, Tony Riss and Chris Reef.
In their shorts. That kind of a day.
Johansson heads it away, headed right back in, and Whitcomb has to grab it. Chris Whitcomb, as we mentioned yesterday, lives in Orleans, Massachusetts, attended high school in Maine at Cape Elizabeth. Weilminster was taken down. Play continues. Bouncing over by the Seton Hall bench, and Ron Dornow will throw it in for the Orangemen. He's had a fine career for Syracuse, a senior from Garden City, New York. As he threw it in, Morris got knocked off the ball, and it's a free kick for the Orangemen at midfield. It is a little bit ominous at one end of the stadium as we look off to the north side of the stadium. Very ominous, as a matter of fact. We saw enough rain yesterday, I think, Scott, to last us quite some time. I was ready to go home and build the ark.
Well, I think we had another 39 days to go, Sean.
Morris tried to get ahead on it, couldn't. Alfano kicked it away, racing to keep it in. Mullen for Syracuse, he does. Mullen bumped by Nazario. Nazario took it away. He's trying to get away from Mullen. Now Weilminster throws it back to Damani. Left puts it out in front to Kaloji. Kaloji moving in. And the stop made by Higgins. Syracuse starting to balance things off as far as territorial play is concerned.
Now this is the way you have to beat that width. You see how they pulled two defenders over there and had two people cutting into the area. That way you get yourself an opportunity to find an open gap. Kaloji found the gap. Unfortunately, he's just late getting to the ball. Terry Higgins just beating him. But that's the way you have to do it. You have to pull a little bit of the defense out to the corner, and then you have to find yourself a couple of guys cutting in to find a gap in that picket line of the defense.
Corner kick for the Syracuse University Orangemen upcoming. Ralph Pascarella and Sean Lilly, numbers 6 and 9 respectively, have come in. Oceani and Kaloji are heading off for Syracuse. First corner kick for Syracuse. 17 and a half minutes to play in the first half. Seton Hall leads 1-0 on a goal by Ian Hennessy, his fifth in the two games here in the Big East tournament. Short one. Damani got a head on it. It went through, and nobody there to drive it home for Syracuse. Matashak ran into Paulson. Nazario, good ball to get it back to Matashak. Peter Matashak. 22 goals this season, including 2 in the semifinal 8-2 win over Boston College. Whitcomb throws it out wide. Dornow racing to keep it in. Has trouble. Has it blocked. Tackles the Seton Hall player.
And we're going to get a card. And a little pushing as they come up off the ground.
Ron Dornow gets the yellow card. I know Ron from my days at Syracuse, and I bet he hasn't had too many of those in his career. Very even-tempered player. And as I've mentioned a couple of times in the two games, a very, very steady player.
Very opportunistic player, too. He seems to come up with some very big goals.
16:45 to play in the first half. The shot was right on from outside the area, and Chris Whitcomb had to make the stop.
Well, there you get a shot of some good quarterbacking.
6-4 stand the shots in the half in favor of Seton Hall. Dornow under increasingly cloudier skies. Hughes trying to go away from Schaefer, gave it off instead to Hennessy. Weilminster couldn't tackle the ball. Hennessy chips it into the area. Matashak racing with Paulson. They were a little lax in the backfield. Paulson let Matashak take it. Paulson could have cut it off. He stopped at the last moment and gave Matashak the shot opportunity at Whitcomb stopped, but it'll be a corner kick on the 4th of the half for the Pirates.
And again, this is a result of movement. Seton Hall really playing some Chinese checkers downfield, and Matashak just beating the defense to the ball. As you mentioned, Sean, a little bit off guard, a little bit lax on that play by the defense.
Paulson just pulled up at the last moment. He was winning the race toward the ball. I don't know if he thought Johansson was going to come over and cut off the angle, but he wasn't, and Johansson looked at him as if to say, Fred, what did you do?
Matashak just using really raw speed to take that angle away.
At 6'4", he showed he can still move up and down the line pretty quickly. Blocked out by Syracuse's Charlie Mullen. Let's take a look at that save again by Chris Whitcomb.
Well, I still can't believe how Matashak just beat the two of them. You really have to communicate, and you could see the way they both looked at each other right after the shot. I thought you had him. You don't think. You talk to each other, even on the fly.
Handball called against Hughes. Hughes kicked it away in disgust. Syracuse gets the free kick with 14:45 to play in the first half. It's the Big East Conference Championship game for 1986, and I'm afraid we're going to see some rain here very shortly. The clouds continuing to move in from the north.
Well, I'll tell you, the field has been holding up very well so far, but once we start getting some water on it, it's not going to hold up too long. This field just can't take any more water than it had yesterday.
No, it was under a couple of inches of water for most of the day yesterday. The ground crew worked throughout the evening and morning this morning to squeegee the field and then roll it. You can see the tire tracks as you look down the field, but we walked around down there, and it's in pretty good shape considering. The ground crew here at Connecticut really deserves an awful lot of credit. Here come the Pirates. Great play by Johansson to stop them momentarily. The Pirates took it back, but the man for whom the pass was intended, Hughes, was not on the run, and Syracuse took it back. Seton Hall 1, Syracuse nothing, 13:40 to play in the first half. Join us next Saturday afternoon as Nesson's coverage of Yankee Conference football continues from Alumni Stadium in Amherst, Massachusetts. The New Hampshire Wildcats and the Massachusetts Minutemen square off. That's live coverage, 1 o'clock next Saturday afternoon, UMass and UNH right here on Nesson. Player down, it's George Nazario for the Seton Hall Pirates.
Now here they are, both going for the ball. Nazario has already released the ball to the corner, and that is what I would call a cross-body block.
Mark Tamani receives the yellow card for Syracuse. Nazario is back on his feet. He's a freshman, very young team, as we mentioned, 8 starting freshmen for Seton Hall. Nazario's out of Union, New Jersey. Ball goes over, and it'll be another corner kick. Nazario still shaken up. For the Hall, that's the 5th corner kick of the first half. Ian Hennessy, the only goal for Seton Hall. It came at 10:10, and Scott Morrell checks in as a substitute for Syracuse. Morrell wearing number 10. He's a sophomore from Pittsford, New York, hometown of a former Orangeman, Scott Damon, who's in the stands here today. Played on the championship team a year ago. There's a header that went over the net by Hennessy, bidding for his 6th goal of the tournament.
I'll tell you what, if he gets number 6, Sean, I think you can just throw the ballots away and just make it sort of...
Did you know we're on the committee that is voting for the MVP? I don't think it's a very difficult choice right now.
Not at this point, unless somebody happens to come up with 5 goals, including the game winner. This game would have to go a long way from what we've seen so far for anybody else to take it away.
The Pirates shattered the Big East tournament record yesterday by scoring 8 goals against Boston College in one game. The previous record was 5, which the Connecticut Huskies did twice in games against Syracuse both times. 12 minutes to play in the half, 1-0 Seton Hall. Hennessy from Hughes and Matashak at 10:10. Ralph Pasquarella, number 6, ahead to Steve Morris. He got stopped by Haig. Mullen has it back. The sophomore from Guilford, Connecticut, ran into the referee, Michael Sanders. Morrell trying to go forward. Lilly went up in the air. He knocked down Nazario. Foul called, and it's going against Seton Hall.
Hey, yo, Kelly! 2 in front of the ball!
Michael Sanders looked around at Charlie Mullen and said, whoops, sorry.
Hey, Gregor! to each other.
Who says this isn't a contact sport when you even have a collision with the referee?
The referee didn't think it was a contact sport.
Stop, move up.
Should have given out a yellow card.
Morris chips in. Morrell got a head on it and went over the net. Nice play off the restart by Syracuse, and Morrell is a good-sized target in there at 6'2". Ball was set into him by Steve Morris.
Morris just laying up a nice soft floater in front there. Morrell getting a nice head on it and putting it right over the outstretched hands of Terry Higgins and just over the net.
Scott Oceani is back in for Syracuse as we watch the replay once again. Mark DeMonte has gone out.
Boy, that's
just missed.
That's like a quarterback putting a touch on a pass, just sort of laying it up there, floating it for his receiver to run right into.
At midfield, Pasquarella got a head on it. Now it's headed forward by the Hall. And O'Kelly takes it down to Hughes. Now Massengill took a bump from Pasquarella as he got it off. Ball kicked over the line by Steve Schaefer of Syracuse. And Seton Hall will throw it in. The Pirates lead 1-0. 10 minutes remaining in the first half of the Big East Conference Soccer Championship game for 1986. The Pirates lost it along the line. Schaefer throws it quickly back in. Out to Morrell. Now Morris. Morris played it back to Morrell. Up the line it goes in the direction of Morris. Hammond got there first. He rolled it over the line. It's thrown in quickly in the direction of Morrell. And again, Scott, we see Greg Kaloji of Syracuse spending a long time on the bench here. Their all-time, not their all-time leading scorer, but their single-season goal-scoring record holder, and he's been out for several minutes.
And again, you know, I don't have an answer for you. I can't understand it. He has not had any injury that we know of.
I asked him about it before the game, and he just shook his head and really didn't say very much.
We went over an injury report earlier in the week with Tim Hankinson.
He's not injured.
And he is not injured.
Say that. Matashak. Out in front. Schaefer had the man tied up in front. It was intended for Hughes. Hennessy cranks one up and over. Good defensive play by Steve Schaefer. The cross from Matashak was intended for Hughes. He was cutting right down the heart in front of the net. And Schaefer had him wrapped up, or it could have been a 2-0 Seton Hall lead. It is like nighttime here now over the stadium. It is really dark. It's darker than it was all day yesterday. At least there was a nice light gray overcast with the pouring rain. Here's a heavy tackle. Paulson dumped Matashak. Syracuse has already seen a couple of yellow cards to Dornow and DeMonte, and now Paulson is going to make it an even 3.
And the clock is, okay, they finally stopped the clock. Let's take a look at it. You see how Paulson just came in. He may have been making an attempt for the ball,
Yeah,
but he
looked like
really
he got a little piece of the ball there.
But he did get a card. But really, that was a sliding tackle.
And Matashak, the second leading scorer in the nation, is still down.
Well, now this is one guy that Seton Hall cannot afford to lose in a 1-0 game of this importance.
54 points on the year for Matashak. He's the Big East leading scorer. 22 goals, 10 assists, including 2 yesterday against Boston College. He's nodding his head as if to say that he's all right. Soccer America lists Matashak second in the nation in scoring behind David Doyle of Campbell College in North Carolina. Boy, is it dark.
Getting darker very quickly.
People down below us scampering to put on coats. Some umbrellas beginning to pop open. The rain isn't falling, but I think the people are anticipating that it's going to come down and maybe come down hard at any moment. Out in front, it's cleared away by Pasquarella of Syracuse. Hammond to Nazario. He's watched closely by Oceani. He got tangled up with Oceani. Nazario called for a hold. And Syracuse will put it in play with 7.5 minutes to play in the first half, and Seton Hall leading 1-0. Boy, it was such a fairly nice afternoon earlier. I didn't even bring my overcoat in from the car.
I didn't either. You know, we're going to be doing some stuff on the field at the end of the game, and I'm just down here in a sport coat today, partner.
We'll see if we can come up with a plastic bag for you or something.
Where's Neil Roberts when you need him, right?
That's right. Hughes, watched by Schaefer. Schaefer's played a very steady tournament, both games. Massengill. Now Hughes, back to O'Kelly. Oceani tried to tackle the ball. Instead, he took down O'Kelly. Oceani called for the foul. Players slow getting up all over the field for Seton Hall. That's Massengill, who was a little bit wobbly. Light rain has begun to fall. Just what we needed. And make it a light rain. As I get the words light rain out of my mouth, it starts to come down hard. And you knew it had to. I mean, it just could not be this dark without raining. O'Kelly. It went over the head of Mullen of Syracuse. The Orangeman let it bounce into Wickham. He had trouble with it and has to slide after it to keep it from going over the line.
As you looked at the corner, you could just see running around the flag. That was Peter Matashak at the far end of the field. He's off the field for Seton Hall now and running out the leg problem he had after being taken down as he now returns to the Seton Hall bench. He had been working it out on the sideline right below us, and now he's back on the far side of the field on the bench, so he should be ready to come back in very shortly. Dornow
ahead to Mullen. 5.5 minutes to play in the first half of this Big East Conference Championship game. That went out off Lilly and should belong to Seton Hall, but it doesn't. They give it to Syracuse.
Watch go through the ball, Gregor.
Oceani threw it into Krister Johansson.
Step out! Step out! Step up! Step up!
Into the corner it went. Cleared away by Hammond. Syracuse was called for offside, however. And Seton Hall will put the ball in play deep in its own end. Ian Hennessy, the only goal that came at 10-10, assisted by Hughes and Matashak.
This fellow with the ball, Brian Hammond, a freshman from Dublin, Ireland. And I'll tell you what, Sean, he has had as much impact on this game so far as anybody, yet you rarely see him until the ball gets back into the Seton Hall end.
He played it right into the lap of Higgins, and now Higgins leaves it for Hammond. Still no Greg Kaloji on the field for Syracuse.
Seton Hall still looking for a setup. They aren't happy with the depth that they're getting as the rain starts to come down harder now. And this is going to change the dimensions of this game quite a bit. We won't see such a wide setup anymore as soon as the field starts to puddle.
Well, all of the efforts of the ground crew are about to be eliminated once again. They did a great job to make the field so playable for the first half of this match, but if this continues as it is right now, pouring rain, it isn't going to take long for the field to return to yesterday's form. The shot went wide, 3.5 minutes to play in the half. Seton Hall leading 1-0, and it will be a goal kick for Syracuse. That man was a standout yesterday for Syracuse, Krister Johansson. Wind now gusting up and blowing strongly at the back of the Orangemen.
Number 23. Kyle Whitson.
Less than 3 minutes to play. Not too long ago, we had a shot of a couple of the Connecticut players out in their shorts, enjoying the nice day. That didn't last long.
We even had a couple of picnickers in the stands not too long ago.
Lilly trying to go around Nazario. Puts it into the area. Botched attempted clear by the Pirates. Pasquarella couldn't do anything with the ball. Syracuse called for a foul. And Seton Hall will put it in play with 2:15 to play in the first half, and the Pirates leading the Orange 1-0.
There's one of our picnickers from earlier, starting to bundle up a little bit now. Or at least get something waterproof over.
It's been interesting. Yesterday it was just a pouring rain all afternoon. This has poured hard, stopped, and poured hard again, and now it has stopped again momentarily. It hasn't completely stopped, but it's just a drizzle right now. Free kick for the Orangemen with 1:45 to play in the half. Just outside the area. Seton Hall controlled the play in the early moments, but Syracuse has played them pretty even since then. Off the restart, an attempted shot went up and over by Scott Oceani. Way over, I might add. Terry Higgins. The only player on the Seton Hall team to have played in the NCAA tournament is Higgins. He did it with Fairleigh Dickinson as the rain comes pouring down again. Whistle sounds. Foul called against Syracuse.
Now the rain is starting to sheet a little bit. As you can see, the flags at the far end of the field over the scoreboard just blowing almost at attention. Blowing right into the face of the Syracuse goaltender right now.
And that has shifted around. Seconds ago, it was at the back of the Orangemen.
Here you can see the flags, and you can see the rain coming down as well with 20 seconds left in the first half.
We mentioned the great job that Ed Kelly has done since coming over from Fairleigh Dickinson, where he was an assistant and taking over at the start of last season. We'll talk more about that in a moment as we take off the final seconds of the half. It will end with Seton Hall leading Syracuse 1-0. Just to finish that thought, in 1976, Seton Hall won one game. They won one game in 77, one game in 78, two games in 79, one game in 80, one game in 81, four in 82, one in 83, and one in 84. That's the program that Ed Kelly inherited. Last year, 8-7-1. This year, ranked 9th in the nation. Didn't take him long to turn it around.
No, and as we mentioned yesterday, it's that turnaround that really has been extremely important, not only to Seton Hall, but to the development of soccer in the Big East. And it's the turnaround of Seton Hall that really is the first major step toward round-robin Big East play.
Scott, your thoughts about the first half?
Well, so far, they've been able to play the way they want to play. I'm very impressed with the way Seton Hall's defense has played. It's set up the offense very well, and it's given the offense an opportunity to be creative and take a few chances down at the other end. Late in the half, however, it looked like Syracuse was really beginning to find a few of the keys to that Seton Hall defense and becoming more aggressive around the goal. We'll have to see if that kind of play continues. It may not be able to if this rain continues, because if it starts to puddle, it's really going to change the dimensions of the game. It'll take some of the width and depth out of the setup of both teams.
And it'll take some of the leaks on our roof to drench us again as here comes the rain again. That's been the theme song for this year's 1986 Big East Conference Soccer Championships. It's the championship game here at the Connecticut Soccer Stadium in Stores. It's Seton Hall 1 and Syracuse 0 in a battle of the two top-seeded teams in the tournament. And we'll return with halftime activities right after we pause for these messages.